Welcome to Daddy Square, episode 5. You are Alex Magan.
I am, and you are Jan Deckel.
Hi.
Hi. Oh, we're back to smooth jazz.
This is Daddy Square for those who just joined us for the first time. Welcome. This is a podcast for gay dads or prospective gay dads.
Yeah.
Each week we talk about a certain issue and bring on a specific guest who's, by coincidence, also a gay dad.
It's not a coincidence. We plan it that way.
Today we're going to talk about gay single dads, and I take my hat off to single dads.
I take my head off to single dads.
I don't know how they do it.
I don't know. I have to say that it shocks me because I think about what. Well, I don't want to think about what that would be like. But before we go into the subject, I have sub-subjects. Can I discuss one or two of them very quickly? The first thing is I have been asked by my best friend, Karen, why the cover photo that we've done for the podcast has me in a suit and tie with a martini in my hand when... A, I never wear a suit and tie anywhere, and B, I don't think I've ever even tasted a martini. But the answer is, it's a picture. It's staged. It's supposed to sort of set a certain kind of tone and feel, but it's all lies. Lies, I tell you. So yes, now that I've admitted that, we can move on.
So we're gonna talk to Calvin Fleming, who is a gay single dad who also has a business. We talked to him about his kids and time management and also about dating, which is, I don't know why, I have this stupid instinct to match people who are single.
Or is that I didn't know that you were one of those. I really never knew that about you.
Yeah, I have this.
Have you had success?
It's not, I don't necessarily do that, like,
you just want to do it.
I want to do it.
I see.
And I don't know if it's presumptuous of me, but I feel like everyone has to have a.
That's right. Everyone needs to couple up.
And I'm like, why is it good? Like, maybe somebody doesn't want to have a relationship and be by themselves. That's good too.
Maybe, absolutely.
But if anyone hears this and wants to date Calvin, please email me at hello@daddysqr.com.
I'm sure he'll be so thrilled to hear that. One of the takeaways that it was during this interview that it occurred to me. No, it was actually while listening to this interview, which was one of our earlier ones.
Yes.
We have not done these episodes in order. It just hit me how... one of the challenges of this podcast is finding things about gay parenting and being gay while parenting that are different from the straights. It's funny because every time I think like, well, yeah, but this one, this is different. This is going to set us apart. They start talking and I'm like, okay, so that just sounds like every sitcom I've ever heard and every story I've ever heard from a straight friend of mine. I really think that we're going to have to delve deeper to find some of the stuff that's so gay because most of it is just the same story.
And also, this interview was recorded at our home. We brought Calvin here because we didn't have a babysitter, and we had our friend David watching our kids in the other room. And by coincidence,
again.
It happens now again. So if you hear our kids in the background during this episode.
So basically what you're telling me is that Calvin has an effect on our child care of keeping it away from us. So
contact us at hello@daddysqr.com or on Twitter at Yanir Deckel and or on Facebook at Daddy Square. And you know that, Alex, we received a few emails this week.
What we get?
People say that they love the podcast, and really, I find the time to answer anybody in person.
Yeah. You go to their homes and knock on their doors and say, I'm here to answer your email.
I reply to every email. Shut up. And this one came with a question, and I wanted to kind of go over it because it's kind of related to one of our earlier episodes about dead bod. And this is a question from a prospective dad who says, once we have children, are we pretty much set to give up working out and going out? Most of our gay friends, while many happily and long-term coupled, do not have plans to have children. Are we inevitably going to drift either because our lifestyle no longer align, or because as parents you simply lose all time socialize? Likewise with the gym, between feeding, sleeping, burping, and tantrums, along with the rest of life, how will you ever find the time to work out anymore?
The burping and tantrums that he's talking about are the children, not, I assume, himself, but because that continues regardless. Look, I think it's a whole episode, and we're going to do one. It's a whole episode about friends.
Yeah,
we'll get to the dad bod aspect, at least from my perspective, in a second. But yes, that is an episode, and we are going to do it. And we're going to do it with one of my close friends and some others, if he'll allow it. But it will probably be a tough episode because it's a tough subject. What happens with friends?
Who don't have
kids when you introduce kids into your life. As far as the working out part is concerned, there's absolutely no doubt that it's going to be harder. I mean, we talked about that in the episode. So much, gets into your life. And one of the things we didn't talk about in the episode when it comes to food that I've noticed is that when you focus on feeding your children, it's harder to focus on feeding yourself. And so what happens is that during a given meal, when you're focusing on what the kid is going to eat, you may not even notice the garbage that you've just shoveled into your own face because you were busy focusing on them. So anyway, the point is, I do think that all of it is harder. But I also think that
it's not impossible.
It's not impossible, and I think we've done a decent job.
I think the reason, by the way, that we did it, and that's what I would say is that we both know that, for example, going to the gym is very important to us.
Yeah.
So we knew that this has to be in the schedule, and we planned ahead. So we knew that if I want to go to the gym and it has to be in the morning, so Alex will take care of the kids from this hour to this hour, and I will go, and vice versa. And this is how it actually worked. I mean, planning ahead and scheduling a routine definitely going to solve many of these problems. And of course, watching what you shove into your mouth.
Yeah.
And also, you can plan that ahead. So just plan what your dinner is going to be. Just because you don't have time to actually think about it in the moment, I would plan everything ahead, and maybe that will save at least some of it. Not the friendship, though.
The friendship is a whole different story.
Yes. So write to us at hello@daddysqr.com, or on Twitter @YanirDekel, or on Facebook @DaddySquare. And I think we're ready for the interview with Calvin.
Yeah, let's do it. Okay,
let's start. Let's start with how you describe yourself on Facebook, because I really, really liked it.
Oh, what does it say?
Now I'm trying to remember how I describe myself.
Single gay dads with two boys who teach me something new every day and put everything in perspective.
Wow.
Yes.
What
did you learn today?
What did I learn?
Yeah, that's a good question.
What did I learn today? I'm usually worried because I'm out of town on a business trip, so I was worried that, how would the kids react to me leaving? Because sometimes it's clinging onto my leg, Dad, Poppy, please don't go.
Right.
And
they call you Poppy?
They call me Poppy. Okay. And today it was, whatever. Okay, bye.
How old are your kids?
They're 7 and almost 9.
Wow.
Yeah, and that was one of the things we were talking about right before I left. So they were more concerned about Minecraft. My oldest is totally into Minecraft. His birthday is September 27th. And so I had printed out a bunch of things for his birthday party about what we should do for like a Minecraft themed birthday party.
Wow.
So he was more concerned about me giving him the password so he can play Minecraft. So
Understood. That is critical. Okay.
But we have to go back and start from the beginning. Why did you decide to have kids on your own?
Can I just point out, have we actually asked him to say what his name is on here? Isn't that
Hi-
something we're
hi.
supposed to do?
Hola.
We're
What's
really
your name?
professional. Some guy comes into our house. He's recording. We don't know his name.
I'm Calvin. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you, Calvin. Alex
jumped
and
right
Jan.
into the thing.
We did. All right, now go back to what you-
and Calvin is a single dad, and this is why you're here, basically. So why
You guys
did
are looking for single dads. That's
Yes.
what I heard,
Yeah,
so
we're
here
trying
I
to
am.
collect them up.
Why did you decide to have kids on your own?
Well, it's actually not that complicated. I was getting closer to turning 40, and I'd been in long-term relationships before. I had been in a relationship that was on and off close to 12 years, and time had passed, and I was, getting to that age where it's like, I'm going to have kids or I'm not. And I need to jump in or not. And I was, so it was in the back of my mind, but at the same time, I didn't think I could have kids as a gay man. And then I learned that it was possible. And then the second thing I learned was it's actually possible to do it as a single person, which was news to me.
Right.
And then, I just ended up at a place where it was a networking event. And I was helping my friend who was doing his own video series that I was helping him produce. And the whole topic that he wanted to do interviews for was on gay parenting. And it was coincidentally, it wasn't far from here. It was at the Fred Siegel, of all places.
Yeah. Of course.
Alec Mappa was there with his husband and their kids. And
You want to put in a
one of the
plug
other-
for this thing? What was
Sure.
this?
It was was it Family Equality Council, maybe?
Okay.
It was
I
hosted
actually
by
meant
the LA LGBT Center, but there was also a lot of other nonprofits there that were kind of trying to recruit new resource parents, as well as other ways to do it. And then later on, maybe a couple months later, I heard about the LA LGBT Center hosting a whole ways to plan your family. So I actually looked into surrogacy. I think the first one I went to was, I think we all naturally would be curious about what our own biological children would look like. So I was like, well, let me go see how realistic surrogacy would be. And financially, it wasn't something I could even consider. So I was like, let me see some other opportunities. And actually, the more I thought about it, the more the foster adopt made sense to me. It just made sense because there were so many kids in the foster care system.
Right.
Like even in LA County alone, here in Los Angeles,
Right.
there's nearly 20,000 that are currently.
Really?
Yes.
That ages what, 17 and younger? Is that when they count
I think
up
it's
that
maybe
number?
it's up to 18, but that
Okay.
at any point in time, I
Wow.
want to say it's 20,000. Maybe we should double check that if you want to put it in writing.
Yeah.
But at any given time, there's either way, it's still a huge number.
Yeah.
So I learned more about it, and I ended up working with a foster adoption agency called Extraordinary Families.
Okay.
And you go through the foster adopt parenting. You have to get certified.
So you have
as a
to
foster
foster
parent.
first.
Right. So they used to do it separately, but now they do it where you get certified as a foster parent as well as an adoptive parent at the same time.
Okay.
So you get certified, and that's a process, and you could do it as quickly or as slowly as you want. And I actually started the classes, and I didn't tell anyone, not even my closest friends or my family, because I didn't want to be pressured into it. I was like, okay, this will give me a chance to think about it, to see what it actually entails. And you slowly figure it out.
Well, so now help me out with this certification. What are you learning? What are they? I mean, because we did surrogacy. We got nothing. They basically handed us children, and that's not true. We had 2 classes we had to go to at night at the hospital when we were in the hospital.
Was it
Oh, yeah.
Lamaze?
Remember? That were basically don't shake the kids, which granted is good advice. But other than that, they just gave us our kids and said, "Good luck."
Congratulations.
So what does it entail? What is this certification about?
No, it's a great question. My sister would ask me all the time, what are they teaching you there? What are you teaching? Because she has 4 kids. I have 3 nephews and a niece, and I would tell her, I'm pretty much learning that you've been doing it wrong this whole time. Which it's not. They pretty much just prepare you for what the kids have gone through, and just to make sure that
see.
you're prepared to handle what potential situations can come up. And yes, there are unique situations because they are foster kids, but they also apply to like biological children too.
Right.
So because I mean, obviously, most of the kids, all of the kids, have been through major transitions in the foster care system.
Right.
So they just want to make sure that you're equipped with the right tools and the right resources, because that's the thing. Yes, they've been through a lot, but you also find out that, you know, we had through the agency Extraordinary Families, they would hook us up with a therapist that came to our house, you know, once a week. Actually, we started with twice a week. Eventually, it went down to once a week. Twice a week, where they would come and they would, you know, we'd do play therapy with the kids.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So they just teach you, yeah, there's going to be challenges, but every family has challenges. It's just a matter of figuring out, you know, how to navigate those challenges and figure it out.
Wow.
For how long the therapist came?
Well, we continued to work with the Children's Institute, and they have programs for foster adopt kids that we just we actually were seeing them through July, but we just moved, so I need to look for a new one. I mean, we just went through a huge transition with a new house, new school district. So yeah, that's the next step. I need to find new doctors.
And how old were your kids when they became your kids?
Sure, they moved in with me when they were 3.5 and
they
5.
brothers?
They're biological brothers. And
3.5 and 5, you said?
3.5 and 5, and they're now 7 and almost 9.
Wow.
So yeah, it's actually at that point where my youngest has pretty much been with me longer than he's been with his bio family, which it's like,
right.
Is that the biggest thing? But it's an open adoption. I was very because they grew up with their 2 older sisters, and I didn't, you know, I wanted them to continue to see them even after the court told us we didn't have to, because at the beginning we had to continue to do visitations.
Right.
So, but I got to know the bio family and trusted them. Like, it's an older aunt that takes care of the daughters. And she actually has become a friend. When I was just back this weekend, she invited, they were coming closer to where we live. And so I was like, stop by, see the new place. And so the boys wanted to show their sisters their new rooms and everything. And we'd already done a video
so
chat.
They kept 2 and gave for adoption 2?
Yes, because she also had 3 daughters of her own.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Exactly.
Wow.
So yeah, and that was actually one of the things. I was like, a lot of times bio family in the adoptive world is seen as, you know, bad, but they're not always bad. Like, there's a lot of biological families that, you know, have good intentions, but they know what boundaries they need to set for themselves.
Right.
And I think that
Financial
was one.
boundaries,
Financial and just realistic, because that's a big responsibility. But yeah, when I met the older aunt who was taking care of the sisters, it actually scared me, because I was like, oh my gosh, is she going to want to adopt the kids too? So I just flat out asked her during one of the visitations. I was like, my intention is to adopt them. Like, did you want to try to adopt the boys too? And she honestly told me, she was like, my husband really does. And of course my heart sank, but then she said, but guess who would be taking care of them? She would be taking care of them. And she knew that they didn't have like the space, because they were in a small home, or the resources. So
wow.
So yeah, so she was like, you know, I see that they're doing well with you, so, you know, we're happy as long as you guys have an open adoption, which is my choice.
Wait, what does it mean exactly, open adoption?
An open adoption?
Yeah.
After the adoption finalized in June of 2016, it's really up to the adoptive parents whether or not you continue the relationships with bio family. Because before that, when they were still foster, there was like, you know, court orders that said that I needed to go take them to visitations, to visitations like every other weekend or once a month. Kind of like slowed down as the process kind of went on.
Would your kids be disappointed if they weren't seeing their sisters relatively often every now and then?
Yeah, I mean,
they're close. Or
yes, once you start feeling like they're, I mean, it just pulls at your heartstrings.
Right.
I mean, they would cry for their sisters
Wow.
more than they would cry for anyone else,
Got it.
including their bio mom. I mean, they still cry for their bio mom once in a while, but they definitely miss their sisters. And you can just see, I mean, if you think about, without going into detail, what they've experienced, you know, those were the bonds that are really, you do want to keep them together.
Sure, understood, yeah.
I think that I want to kind of tackle what I see as the biggest challenge for single gay dads, which is dating. Can I ask you a little bit about that?
I don't know how. It might be a quick conversation.
So, do you have
Details. Spare no details.
No, I wish there was more to talk about. But no, there was a point where I did consider, opening myself up to dating maybe after a year. Because, you guys are parents. You know how it goes. It's like,
that's
who
why I'm
has
asking.
time to even think about that?
Exactly.
But after I think the adoption was finalized, I started, opening myself up to it. And I think I went on OkCupid or Match or one of those sites and went on a couple of dates, but it was also like, I don't know if I mentioned this. I always tell people, I was like, you get the guys that are like, I don't know, maybe they're just curious. So they'll like chat you up.
Right.
Yeah.
And then you end up talking about the kids more. And I'm like, wait, which one about me?
Right.
Do you not know who I am? And then you get the guys that are super cool that I have kids, and that's, they're ready. They're, telling you how they already have Disneyland annual passes and that they're ready to.
So this is like
go
a
to gay
Partridge Family situation. You're going
Right.
to get married, and instead of having 2 kids, you'll now have 4 or 12 or whatever.
Exactly.
Right. Okay.
So yeah,
that's not a good path.
It's not a good path. Or no, I mean, I also tell people you have to be willing to even submit to like a background check, like a criminal background check. Like, you don't know, like the kind of guys, I can
Exactly,
assume that they're fine, but they can also be Andrew Cunanan. Like,
Right.
Oh, wow.
Do you ever tired of people asking you that? Because I feel like maybe it's even a little, this is becoming also a pressure, like to have a partner because you have kids. So I feel like that may be also something that could be.
I think he's asking, is it presumptuous of us to even be asking it as if that's something that you should have? When certainly that's not what we intend in asking the question, but do you ever feel pressured by other people, like
by your family?
You got to have a relationship because,
I mean, I think before that there was always pressure. I mean, it's interesting just being around now that I've moved closer to my family, just being around them. I think I'm starting to hear some of that, but at the same time, they also, I don't know, it's different. I don't know.
You and your family live near you?
Yeah, in the Central Valley. So
okay, but you're just moving away from
I just moved. Yeah, I literally moved 3 weeks ago.
Wow.
So I bought a bigger place. They're in good schools.
Right. But that
and
was
more family support.
Was that a helpful thing, having your family nearby when your kids were so small at the beginning?
No, they're now nearby.
Oh, now they're
before
nearby.
they weren't.
One of my children is trying to break in, trying to
And I think
break
it's the
into
dog.
the room.
I see the reflection of the dog.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah,
This is a very professional studio.
The first year, I actually had help from a nanny. And actually, I shouldn't just say the first year. All 3 years.
Right.
The boys have been with me for 3.5 years now. So yeah, the first I would say 8 months I didn't have a nanny, and then I was like, why didn't I? And then I got a nanny, and now we just left. So now my mom's helping a lot more. Mm-hmm. So.
And you were looking for one? Do you kind of like
possibly?
Mm-hmm.
It's a whole nother conversation.
Whole
Whole other conversation.
So you're saying no dating right now, basically.
So back to
We're not.
No
It's not that
dating.
we're trying to set you up.
I'm I am open to it, but I definitely do it. I proceed cautiously.
Right.
Right now, I'm actually happy being single.
Mm-hmm.
But then you also think, at least when I was living in LA, it's also just a matter of logistics because there's so much.
Right.
With the kids, I'm like, okay, is going on this date with this guy that I don't know that well, that we kind of chatted on OkCupid, worth paying the nanny
Right.
4 hours for?
That's right.
Is it
I
worth
can
it?
meet you on the corner. We'll see. Yeah.
Or is it a coffee date over lunch when the kids are in school?
Right.
I could tell you the other thing that I do find more joy in is meeting other single gay dads.
Okay.
Because there are like a group of us that, do exist that are out there in the world. And it was funny because even the past couple of years we've been going to Rainbow Family Camp. Mm-hmm. It's just past, they do it like twice a year now. And it's just in these cabins up on your way to Big Bear.
Oh, wow.
But it's really cool.
Sounds
You
like
guys should
something
go.
you should take the kids
Yeah,
for.
if you guys. No, it's not real camping. There's cabins. They actually
Oh.
make you food. You're not
Is
going to
there
be
an
sitting in a
internet?
tent.
That's still his idea of camping. If it's not the
access.
lobby of the Four Seasons, it's camping for him.
But it's
okay.
great. It's great. I mean, it's not just great. And so at the last one, there were like probably 5 single gay dads there.
Yeah.
But it's just good to like
Wow.
have something in common with other
But
guys.
it's not a gay dad only.
No,
type of,
it's all.
okay.
Yeah, it was just a
Okay.
coincidence that several of us happen to be single gay dads.
Oh, that's cool. Do you have any kind of a group like that? I don't know. On
There's some
Facebook?
on Facebook. Yeah, there's
Okay.
a few on Facebook.
Oh, that's great.
Where people will chat or are husband shopping.
Right. Sure.
No, it's funny
Understood.
because I would also join on Facebook the just single dad groups that don't say that they're gay, but I unsubscribed to all of them because most of them are single straight guys that are just venting about how pissed off they are about their ex-wives and how they have to pay child support.
Oh yeah, that doesn't sound like a good time.
No, not at all.
No. So I have to say that when Jan first mentioned this as a topic, and not you yet, but the topic, the first thing that jumped to my head is that I was going to grab whoever it was by the lapels and say, how did you do it? Because we are two.
We're on a meltdown on a daily basis.
Yeah,
basically.
and
it's been 3 years. Almost.
Yeah, so right,
2
it's
weeks
been
from now,
almost
it's gonna
3
be
years,
3
and we do not handle this all that smoothly, to be honest with you. I mean, children are, thank God, knock wood, alive and well. But it's brutal when I speak to other parents and I get past the initial bullshit layer. They say to me, "Yeah, it's pretty hard. It's wow, oh my God." Sometimes there's crying, and then I hear about somebody like you.
It's hard. I don't lie. It's
But I
hard.
don't understand.
And he works. I mean,
I do work for myself, so it makes it a little easier.
What kind of work do you
my
do?
schedule is flexible. I do PR and marketing.
Oh, okay.
So, so yeah, it's easier because I can, especially with going back to foster adopt, the foster adopt process, it does take time just because you do have a lot of, meetings with social workers or even with therapists. So you have to be flexible. I was like, I don't understand how people with full-time jobs can just jump in and out at a whim.
Yeah.
But that makes it a little easier.
Right.
And I've had help. I had a nanny who would do, I always say the hard work because your kids aren't in school yet. but she would actually pick them up from school.
That's the
make
hard
sure
work?
Yeah, because
To
the
pick them up.
homework.
Shit,
The
you mean-
homework.
Oh, the homework.
The homework.
Oh, our children aren't going to do that. I never did
we
mine.
teach them now.
Yeah.
Listen, your homework is going to be this. You're going to
They,
do
they
this.
they memorize ABBA songs. They're covered. They're good.
Yeah, my son's into Michael Jackson and Elvis Presley right now.
Sweet.
Every time we get in the car, Bobby, can you put on the
Wait,
Elvis
the
Presley
kids
CD?
got culture.
Well, we went
Yeah.
to Nashville Pride. I work with Nissan, and so we went to Nashville Pride.
Right.
Because they sponsored the event, and so we took a little side trip to Graceland, and so
Oh.
Get
totally
out.
fell in love with Elvis Presley.
I want to go to Grace.
Yeah.
All right. Sorry.
So
How's your day look like? Speaking of,
what does my day look like? Okay, well, I had to pre-plan because I'm on technically on a business trip the next few days. So we get up at around 6:30. At their new school, they actually will eat breakfast at school, which I found to be a lot better because it makes them hurry. Like they're excited to get to school to have breakfast there because they're starving.
Good. Okay. First
only
note:
$1.
starve the children
in the morning?
Starve children. Good.
Or they'll eat and then we'll go. So they'll have two
Right.
breakfasts. Sorry. If they've been good and my bicycle tire didn't blow out, we now live where we can actually ride our bikes to school. So that's a new. You always try to find things that you could take away. So that's a new one. Riding your bikes to school, they love that. So
Right.
I'm like, if you guys aren't listening, we're not riding our bikes to school.
Oh,
So we
interesting.
ride our bikes to school,
Writing
and then
down things that you can take away.
and then they're in school from like 8 until 3, and then they go to an after school program that goes until I usually pick them up around 5.
Right.
And then we'll have dinner at like 5:30, 6, and then they'll play or finish homework, usually finish homework, and then they'll want dinner again because they're growing boys, like at about 7, and then
And you make the dinner?
yes, I'll make the dinner. Or my mom's been living with us.
Oh,
She's going
right.
through health
Yeah,
issues,
she's
so she
helping.
moved in with us.
Oh.
And yeah, so
So basically, from 5, when you pick them up, you're the slave, just like us.
I don't consider myself. Okay, I'm a slave.
Yeah.
exactly. I'm like, am I your servant? I always tell them, am I your
Servant.
servant? And they'll be, yes.
Yeah,
Can you
exactly.
please?
Yeah.
And I'm like,
Yeah.
well,
Oh, they
just
say,
give
"Can you
services."
please?" How nice.
Yeah, I
ahead.
find that from the moment that our nanny leaves at 5 until the next morning when she comes, including the night, I'm the service.
The morning for us is not bad. We like the morning, or I like the morning. The evening is really hard for us. Getting them to bed is really rough. Yeah.
Yes. I have one that will pass out like right after we read bedtime stories at 7:30. He'll
Yeah.
usually fall asleep during bedtime stories. My oldest one wants to stay awake, and like as long as I let him. But I know that they're cranky the next morning, so usually I've been letting them stay up a little bit later if they're reading.
Got it.
Are they
or
interested in
pretending to
sports?
read. Yes and no. So they're kind of opposites. It's like my oldest wants to play. Like he was in soccer and Little League, but I describe him more like me, not coordinated, but he wants to be there. I didn't want to be there. He wants to be on the team. He just wants that camaraderie. And my youngest is super athletic, super strong. He's a little guy, but super fast. And he just has upper body strength like you wouldn't believe, but doesn't want to play. Like,
Oh, that's
he's
funny.
just too shy and too but if you catch him hitting the ball or whatever, people will be like, what the heck? Why isn't he on the team? And
Right.
I'm like, he doesn't want to. I'm not going to force him.
Wow.
So
I always think about what happens if my kids, it's starting now that they want to play sports and, I didn't. So what do you do in this situation? What do you think?
well, our first nanny, Tony, God bless him,
Oh,
he was
it's a
super
him.
athletic. He used to teach Little League. He was Little League coach.
Wow.
So he would go and take them to the park, and I was like, "Okay, you're going to teach all three of us?" Really? I don't know how to play baseball that well. And so he was great in terms of mentoring them.
Note, have a straight person around.
Yeah, you got to have a straight.
Yeah.
Get yourself a straight. All right.
Yeah.
And yeah, he's been great. We can, even after he moved on and is no longer a nanny, he's still been a friend to our family, and he still comes and helps out. He actually even recruited his dad to help us because they're both in the Cub Scouts. So they built the Pinewood Derby. You make the little race cars and they
Oh,
race them down
yeah.
the track.
Sure.
So his dad used to do that for him.
Oh,
and so his dad was like, "Oh, I'll totally help them build, because I don't know how to do anything in the wood shop, because you have to actually, they give you a
Yeah.
block.
Yeah,
wood
and you have to
block, and
carve
you have
it
to
out.
Carve it out
Yeah.
with
I remember.
saws
You'll
and
be able
stuff.
to do that. Right?
I will be able to
Yeah,
do
good.
that. I
It's
can bring
hard,
that.
though.
I can bring that to the table. That's
It's
all I have to
all
offer.
the dads take it so seriously. It's
Yeah.
super competitive.
Yeah.
And the past 2 years, Angel's gotten first place in his little division,
Wow.
and Nico's
Right.
got second, and this year he got first.
All right.
And Tony and his dad both came to cheer him on. I think they were more excited than anyone.
that's so sweet.
That's great.
So yeah, it was great. So you find the people that kind of fill in what you might not necessarily have the skills to do.
So in the discussions that people have, sometimes they're nice discussions, sometimes they're not very nice about, gay fatherhood. There's often the question of, well, is it appropriate to have children when you don't have a woman in the picture, et cetera? And certainly we've had that discussion with various people, again, sometimes nicely, sometimes less so. What I think is really kind of interesting and different about your situation is you were mentioning the straight single dads, right? Your situation doesn't matter whether it's gay or straight. You're the same family scenario as any number of men that are out there. Have you ever had a discussion with a person, a man, a woman, a family member, where they look at you differently as a parent because you're a gay man, as opposed to the fact that you're a single man?
That's a good question. I think sometimes I feel like as a single parent and also as a father, gay or straight, they give me a pass on a lot of stuff,
Right.
which I'll take most of the time.
Yep.
Because you guys haven't gotten to the school where it's more competitive. Oh, my kid's better at this, and my kid's super smart, blah blah blah. But you
Alex
get a
is
lot
already
of that.
there.
Well,
You're
our
already there.
kids are actually more brilliant and perfect than all of the other children, maybe except for yours. So we don't really have that problem. But please tell us about other parents.
So yeah, I mean, I think they give us, they give me a little bit of a pass or room, or they give me extra credit.
Right.
Because I do still have help. It's not like, my family's not there even right now watching my kids and making sure they get fed and stuff.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, there are things that I always point out, especially in elementary school. At our new school, they do the same exact thing. They have this the father-daughter dance and the mother-son bowling.
Oh
And I was
my
like, well,
God, seriously?
I'm a gay dad with 2 sons. And of course I write letters. And so the PTA will send me emails back. Well, of course you're invited. You can come to both. And I was like, that's not what the title says.
Only if you're wearing a ball gown. I mean,
That's what I told my kids. I'll come dressed as your mama.
right.
In a wig. And
Oh
I'm
my
like, no, don't embarrass
That would be
us.
awesome. We can put pictures up on the podcast page.
But yeah, so just trying to make everyone else mindful that our family, even though we're not, the kids don't have 2 dads, and but still mindful of those sort of things. And
Right.
it's funny because when I pointed it out, one of the other teachers, I was told, she didn't tell me directly, but one of the teachers at their elementary school said, yes, the father-daughter dance and the mother-son bowling doesn't make sense for her and her daughter either, because she's a single parent with a daughter, a single mother with
Right.
a daughter.
Right.
So I was like, why can't you just be more, they always talk about mindfulness, and I'm like, why can't you guys be mindful? You guys are pushing it on us.
Yep.
So,
Do your kids know that you're gay?
oh yeah, totally. I don't think I can hide that.
What?
How do you? How do you tell them?
I think it was always a part of the conversation, so it was never like a, I don't know. It was always, I think I was always very open about it from day one. I mean, yeah, there were 3.5 and 5.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the thing is, I think one of the first conversations we had was when we were hanging out with other gay families. So I said, we're
Okay.
going to go and there's going to be gay dads. That means 2
Yeah.
dads. The kids will have 2 dads, or the kids will have 2 moms. And the one brilliant thing my son Nico said was, but Poppy, we have 2 dads too. And I was like, what do you mean you have 2 dads?
that's-
They're like, well, there's you, and then we have our biological dad.
Oh my God. He could have 3 if you worked it out. He could have 3. That's hysterical.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it's just like kids think differently.
Yeah.
Like they don't care.
Yeah.
They really don't. So, and I think they even feel more comfortable when we do go to Rainbow Family Camp, where there's a lot of gay families, just because a lot of the other kids are like them, they're adopted. So at their new school, I have to tell you my stories because we all have our stories. At my new school, it's a new school. They can be totally different people. I was telling
Right.
them, because we went through the adoption process at their old school, so everyone knew that they were adopted. So I said, it's really your decision. It's your story to tell. I'm not going to tell anyone that you're adopted. So my oldest son was like, no, I'm not going to tell anyone. I'm not going to tell anyone that I'm adopted. And my other son was like, I'm going to tell everyone.
Well, that's not going to work out very well, is it?
So the first day we were talking about making new friends, and I was like, have you guys made any friends? And Nico said, yes, Poppy, guess what? I made a new friend. I won't say his name. And he told me that he's adopted too. And I was like, really? And I was like, did you decide to tell him that you're adopted? And he's like, yeah, I told him I was adopted. And guess what else he said? And I said, what did he say? He said that his mom made bad choices too.
Oh God.
I'm like, well, I guess we're all using the same language.
Yeah, I suspect that there's a pretty common vernacular for these kinds of things. That's hysterical. Wow.
I wanted to ask about other gay single dads who you said you are in touch with.
Oh, sure. I mean, I think my situation is unique because I think most of the other gay dads out there are in previous relationships that split up.
Okay.
So they might have baggage that I don't necessarily have. If you want to put that on my profile, my new OkCupid.
Baggage free.
Baggage-free parent.
Yeah.
It's good.
But yeah, so I think everyone has a unique kind of story.
Yeah, because I think that maybe you feel that you kind of more relate to each other rather than to families with two gay dads, and I wanted to ask what do you think is your biggest challenge as a single gay dad? Because I think something else. I think that the dating, but maybe it's not your biggest challenge.
I'm not as concerned about the dating. Like, I'm pretty content right now.
I don't know why I think that. Maybe it's yeah.
I think it's the work-life balance. I think that's the hardest part for me. Like, even coming here this week to LA for work,
right,
knowing that I have to get back. This is why we did it on Monday instead of Wednesday, because back to school night's on Wednesday. So I was like, I need to get back for back to school night, or else I'll feel like I'm not there for them. So I think that's my biggest dilemma, is just figuring out how to pay the mortgage and kind of still be involved in there, because I do want to be involved.
Yeah.
So because I do get a lot out of seeing them in Cub Scouts or Little League or whatever activities they want to do, and help them as much as I can with any school stuff. So.
Do you talk about this with other gay single dads? I mean, do you find that it's kind of the biggest challenge? I don't want to say problem, but
probably. I mean, maybe it's just not a single parent thing. It's just making time for your kids. It's hard.
Yeah,
and making time for yourself too.
Right. So since the kids entered your life, have you gone away alone somewhere, anywhere? Vegas.
Now he's on a business trip.
No, not a business trip. Not a business trip.
Well, remember, a lot of my business, I do go to Pride events. So.
Okay, all right.
But honestly,
fair
most
enough.
of those business trips,
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, I'm at a Pride event. Should I go to the concert, or should I just stay and hang out at the hotel room?
Right.
Just like relax.
Right. When I go on business trips, my colleagues go out to dinner, and I go to the hotel room and just lay in the bed. And
I
I'm
know.
like, God, it's so good
Isn't it
here.
nice for just like peace and quiet?
Oh, it's awesome.
And, yeah.
Okay.
The second year I did go on a trip by myself, and I can't even remember where it was. I think I just went to San Francisco.
Well, yeah.
Meet up with some friends.
Got it.
But yeah, I'm due for one of those soon.
Right.
We're coming towards the end, and I want to talk a little bit more about adoption and parents or gay dads or just gay men who want to adopt. What's going to be your biggest advice for them?
I would definitely just say leave yourself open to the possibility of fostering and adopting. I think there's a lot of misconceptions about foster kids, and a lot of it isn't necessarily with the kids. You have to remember the problem was with their parents.
Right.
Yeah.
The kids are great. I mean, every kid is different. If there's certain boundaries that you feel like you can't handle, like if they've been emotionally or physically abused in some way and you just know you can't handle that, you can say, I can't handle that.
Right. Right.
But otherwise, you can also set parameters around age ranges, even gender. I think they let you say.
And you can, and they let you take these classes even if you don't want to foster.
You can take the classes and then get certified and just say no when they call you.
Right.
But yeah, you can learn about the process. They have
Does it cost any money, these classes?
The initial orientation is free, and that'll give you a broad overview. I think it's like a 1 or 2 hour class, and they answer all your questions about the process and kind of just walk you through the big picture of what you're doing, because you eventually you have to be you have to get like certified doing CPR, like first aid.
We didn't.
Oh yeah, I'm telling you, they just shoved 2 children. All right, well, before we could leave the hospital, they had to check that our car seats were properly installed in the car. Other than that, they had no idea what we knew how to do or what we didn't know. That's really interesting.
One of the final things is they have to certify your home. So that was that was a stumbling block for me, because I lived in a high rise in downtown, so they wouldn't certify it because they thought I had balconies. I guess they thought that they would jump. I don't know. I was like, and I put alarms on them. They were like, no, it's too much liability, I guess. Wow. So that's how I ended up in Hermosa.
You foster first for a certain amount of time. How long?
It all depends on where the kids are in the process.
Okay.
And here's also one of the misconceptions, is that they can go back to their biological family, which is always the goal for the county. is
Right.
reunification with the biological family, or what's in the best interest for the kids. But if the kids have already lost, if they've lost parental rights, then that makes them closer to being able to get adopted.
Got it.
So if you kind of look at fostering kids that have already lost that parental rights, more than likely they're not going to. It's like where they ask you, like, from 1 to 10, how much risk do you want to take in terms of them possibly going back?
Right.
You say, I don't want any risk. Then they're
Yeah.
going to give you kids that have already been in the system for a while.
Right.
So I guess the reason why I'm
match you.
particularly asking is, amongst the people that you know who have adopted, I'll put it a different way. So we didn't have our kids before they were our kids. Just one day they became our kids and they came back to the house with us, and that was it. And I don't know what would have happened if we had had our kids for a few months or 2 months before we got to decide what to do next, because it was brutal for us at the beginning. So how many people do you know that fostered and then said from that experience, I shouldn't have kids?
You have to think about it completely differently, and it's hard. I'm not gonna lie. It would be a hard. I have a friend that's going through it right now, or he already went through it with a baby.
Right.
That they had, him and his husband had for 6 months, I want to say, and then they got reunified with their bio family, and he's currently going through the same process where they're considering it again.
Right.
But if you take the perspective of one, would that kid's life been better in a different situation, or would they have been better off with you? And also, you know, even those short 6 months, how much can you give that child? You can give them a lot in 6 months. I mean, I thought
Right.
it would take a long time to really bond with my kids. I mean,
It didn't?
It didn't take time. No, like they were almost immediately like connected, like clinging and everything else. Maybe, I don't know, but it happens almost immediately. Maybe not with all kids, but with my two
Right.
sons, they immediately bonded with me.
Oh, that's amazing.
So it's like, and that's a process that I had to remind myself, what's in the best interest of the kid. I'm an adult. I can emotionally, it might be hard,
Yeah.
but I can handle it, or I can try to handle it. But was it best for the kids to be with me for those 6 months or in another home?
Wow.
So, I mean, we are the adults.
Yeah.
These kids need homes.
Speak for yourself, but understood.
Thank you very much,
Yeah,
Calvin.
thank
It's
you.
been
No, this was
really
great. I always love talking
interesting.
about kids.
Huh? What's that?
I always love talking about
Yeah.
kids.
It is
Us too.
amazing, isn't it?
It's
You can
great
just
seeing them grow. Yeah.
get. Yeah. All right. Well, thanks.
Thanks.
a lot.
Thank you.
Can we do that picture thing? Yes.
That was Calvin,
Yeah.
and if anyone wants to date him, please email me.
Is he aware that you're going to do that? This is like a form. This is a form of attack. I like
Yeah,
it.
I'll get an angry text
Really?
message from you. In 3, 2, 1.
There it is.
He's a really nice guy, and I don't know how he does that. I mean, you know, obviously he gets a lot of help from his mom and family, but still, like, juggling all of this and, you know, maintaining life. And it's really, and he said that he doesn't know how people who have full-time job, because he's like his own boss.
Yeah.
How can people who have full-time job do it? So I just want to ask our listeners, if there's anybody who is a single dad with a full-time job and have advice for us on, like, or have, like, kind of wants to tell his story, please contact
Oh yeah.
us at
No, we would love
daddysqr.com.
if you have the 5 minutes that it takes to communicate
write
with
us.
us. We would love that. You
And
know,
we want to know how you do it, because obviously you must have some tips and tricks up your sleeve.
I do want to say this. One of my takeaways from the interview, because before we had it, right, my assumption was that what he does is impossible, just can't be done, can't be physically done. And why did I assume that? I assumed it because of our own experience.
Yes.
And what that leads me to realize is the incredible elasticity of the human capability and spirit. And what I mean is, there are people who are filthy rich and have 12 nannies and, one child, and their parents are around, and they are exhausted by raising their child. And there are people who are, a poor girl
Not
living...
to say that Calvin is poor.
No,
We don't know.
wait a minute. I'm not talking about him. I was on the opposite extreme. And then there's a poor, 16-year-old or 17-year-old girl who, gave birth and is raising the child by herself. And somehow she is managing to do it, and possibly managing to do it better than the super rich person did. My point being that all along the spectrum of the difficulty of doing this is another factor, which is inside the human mind and where they are in terms of their preparedness and sort of flexibility in handling the change to their lives. Yeah. I don't think I can speak for myself. I don't think I was very elastic at the beginning of this process. And so therefore it was incredibly traumatic at the beginning for me. And I've kind of had to soften and stretch over time. I think that this is what he seems to be a much more elastic person than I was at the beginning.
I think that we tend to kind of compare ourselves to other people, but in every case, we're talking about people who had one kid compared to us, but we had two. So having twins, I think in a sense, is so much more difficult. Not only because there are two, it's only because even if you're two parents, let alone if you're one, but if you're two parents, so you're always going to be occupied. While when you have one, one parent can be with him, and the other one can rest or go to the gym or do whatever. It's not like both of them occupied, like we were each with a baby all the time, which make us feel a lot more tired and exhausted.
Yeah, look, I agree, and I'm sure that twins are a different and possibly more challenging thing. But I guess my point is that each parent and his or her situation is based not only on the kind of environmental stuff, but on what happens inside that parent's head. Mm-hmm. And if that parent is more kind of ready to go with the flow of parenting, they're going to have an easier time than another parent who has a lot more support, but their brain isn't there.
Yeah. I also was enlightened by something that he said about the single gay dads group, that they kind of feel like they understand each other more, and they like hang out in a group when they can communicate and have much more mutual problems and stuff like that, which reminded me that sometimes we think about gays in general, and we tend to forget like how many subcultures there are in gays. That's also, I think, kind of matching the gay dad community.
Right. Well, it's true. And I wonder why they haven't overlapped yet. Like, why aren't there, like, bears with kids and, S&M dads with kids?
I think
maybe these groupings exist. I don't really know.
We have to check out hashtags.
Right.
I think on Instagram you must have, like, a gay daddy bear hashtag.
I'm not sure.
Even though maybe it doesn't necessarily mean that they're actually dads.
Oh, that's true. That's right. They could be that kind of daddy thing.
Yeah.
Weird daddy.
But so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put on the podcast page the link to the single gay dads group that Calvin was talking about. So if you are a single gay dad who wants to kind of join that group, we'll send you over to them.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm sure they'll love it. And I think that's it. What do you think?
It sounds good to me. Can we do sage advice?
Sage advice.
Am I starting?
Sage advice.
Sage advice. So it goes back a little bit to my sage advice at last time, but I am going to tell you about something that my husband did last week that has stuck with me that I just find amazing. It's a little bit about manipulation. Ben hates changing out of his night clothes. in the morning to get into his day clothes to go to school and all that kind of stuff, and it's really challenging. And so the other day, while he was screaming and yelling about how he doesn't want to change, my husband goes into Jan, goes into the kitchen. He gets a little cup of water, and I'm like looking at him like, "What are you doing?" And he walks over towards Ben, and he pretends to trip and fall and spills water all over the child.
It was just a little bit.
It was just a little bit of water. And then he goes, "Oh no," and Ben goes, "Oh no, now I'm wet." And he says, "Now you're wet. We're going to have to change your clothes. I'm so sorry." It was brilliant. It was inspirational. And it's just my way of saying that, there's an awful lot of trickery and manipulation that goes into good child rearing. Well done, Jan.
He's saying that just because we had a little fight just before.
We had a fight right before the recording. That's true.
Somehow we managed to go through this episode
without strangling each other with the microphone cord.
But couples therapy is coming soon. Okay, I think that's it for today.
Right.
So write to us and please rate and review. You have all the details in the podcast page. Rate and review us, and we love the 5 stars, and we love that you guys criticize us, because what would we do if we weren't gays who criticize?
That's right. I mean, if you didn't criticize me, I would have to just rely on Jan to do it.
Which I do all the time.
That's true.
Alex, have a good week.
Have 5 stars, Jan.